Are you ready for the jingle? Are you ready for the jingle, Dylan? I've wrote new lyrics.
Sure, do a jingle.
John and Dylan online. John is great. Dylan is okay.
There you go. That was really fucking shit. What were you saying? Tayshawn? Who's Tayshawn?
Tayshawn Day, my friend.
What's that?
The lyricist and singer behind viral internet hit Chocolate Rain.
Okay. Is it discovered they were a pedophile?
It was not discovered they were a pedophile. It's just discovered that we talked about what was going to be the topic for this episode. One of the things we talked about was Chocolate Rain. So I ended up listening to that song about 80 times yesterday, watching a bunch of videos with Tayshawn Day himself. And let me say this. We've covered a lot of internet personalities. This man may be the weirdest one.
Why? What did he do?
Completely oblivious to what the internet seems to be. And he is having his fame from that song his way. In his mind, he is a famous, acclaimed musician. He is out there solving the problem that is race in America, and his weapon is the song Chocolate Rain. I
don't think I've ever heard that song.
You never heard Chocolate Rain? Where were you in 2005, bitch? Or by 2008, really?
No.
Really?
I never heard it. The internet sucks because we used to all get the same jokes. And then if you were a person who watched a lot of TV, you would get a joke about a show that was on at midnight.
Yeah, the thing with it also is that where I got it originally, and this is how you knew what was funny on the internet, is two dudes that smoked way too much weed. Literally, one of them is just a full crackhead in Montreal, and the other one is like a reasonably good father and husband. But every once in a while, you're like, "Is that guy on ecstasy by himself at this bar?" And it's like, it's not just ecstasy.
Yeah, I used to smoke too much weed, and then you'd be like, I know a lot about Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and now it's like, I'm a Nazi.
This is the thing I was thinking about when I was smoking weed yesterday, which is I was literally smoking weed so I could go in and I'm like, all right, I'm going to empty the dishwasher, going to clean up downstairs, maybe pet a cat, let's get some stuff done. I was like, what has happened to weed? I remember a buddy Jared in high school, when in math class, this was applied math, aka dunce cat math, and the teacher, David Gage, asked everyone, what's some math you found this weekend? And he put his hand up and went, one channel that's just that 70s show, Wong Bong, me fucking happy. And he was like, wait, what? And he just admitted to smoking weed as an answer to a question in a math class. And let me say this. That guy's got a union job now, and he's pretty happy. Owns a farm.
Oh yeah, applied. This was if you're in Ontario in Canada. They had weird thing is they had three types of math. They had workplace math, which was the real fucking. Then applied, and then university. Was it?
No, it was academic. Math? It was no.
Academic. It was basically I wasn't good at math, but I still took the academic one because I didn't want everyone to think I was dumb. But in reality, I should have just taken workplace everything and got 100 in every single course.
Excuse me, you fuck. Were your bullies in Stouffville like, whoa? You're not taking hard math, fucking loser. Fuck, you don't even fucking know complicated algebra, man. That you're fucking. I could beat up all your bullies. Right? I just found out that my high school v your high school is going down.
I don't know. It was just a bunch of really it was like.
I think these bullies were in your head. I do not think that this was a problem at all. Dylan could have had an A average, but he got a C average because he just couldn't take the heat. He couldn't take the glare from the Mean Girls table in the cafeteria.
Study though, who wanted to study? I remember when I found out football, I thought you play football, you wear the helmet, you smash into people, and then they were like, read this book, and I'm like, I'm done with football. I'm not.
The revelation that you don't like ballads is really the missing piece of the puzzle, where it's like, no, he's just here. He's here for destruction. Wait, well, I thought that guy you know what I mean?
Who's listening to a ballad? I got things to do.
I want to reflect.
Old Chris Lock joke where you can tell how good the economy is by how long songs are. It's like in the 70s. It's like 8.5 minutes long. It's like, listen, man, I got to go to work. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't be listening to this fucking Pink Floyd shit. It sounds like a cloud had a thought. What are we doing here? That's how I feel about Pink Floyd. I was like, skip to the song part, and they're like, well, it's about when it gets to the song part. I'm like, not for me. This song is done for me.
I mean, I completely agree with you. And then I started smoking weed heavy, and then you're like, oh, this is good. Some space before the song to really think about what the song could be.
Yeah, but anything is good when you're high. You could watch a fucking
anything.
Toyota commercial for an hour and a half.
Have you ever have you ever gotten super baked and then suddenly gotten extreme diarrhea? That's a problem. That's a real problem because here's why.
No.
I have. I smoked. Christoph Davidson left a bunch of what he called green crack in my house in the pandemic. This was before I smoked weed, and I smoked all of it in one go. Could not get off my sofa for about 6 hours, and then had fiery diarrhea. Now, here's the problem with that is you forget. I kept forgetting that I had fiery diarrhea, so I'd be like walking far away from the toilet, and then I'd get one of those ship summoning noises from my belly and have to run back. Misjudge this.
Really? That's crazy. I mean, I've only smoked weed where it's like, yeah, you forget everything. And then, the funny thing is, because age makes absolutely everything not fun, is that if I smoke weed, then the inflammation in my knee will come out and I
Come on.
can't move. Yeah.
We are the same
so my
age.
knee will literally inflame to the size of my head. And people are like, why are you limping? I'm like, because I smoked weed and it brought out all the inflammation in my body.
We are the same age, and I treated my body way more disrespectfully than yours. Like, you got way more sleep than I did. You didn't fall down nearly as many times as I did. And yet still, how the fuck is that a problem for you? I don't have that. I just have now.
What? Nothing happens to your shoulder when you smoke weed?
No, but I can tell you when the temperature is going to change, which is a nightmare. The 3 points on my
that's an old person thing where
3 points on my body are literally like aching, and I'm like, it's going to rain, and people are like, I don't think it is, and I'm like, trust me, I have searing pain in 3 points on my upper body. I'm better than a fucking weatherman. Don't fuck with me. I have a pressure cage inside my body. I mean, I tell you, it's a fun thing walking around. So I nearly lost this left arm in a bicycle accident. As a result, I have a shitload of metal in this arm. And it is still the greatest social experiment ever. Is every time I'm at an airport, it will set off the if it's a metal detector, it sets it off because there's just so much in my body.
Really?
And
I thought that would happen with my ankle, but it didn't.
It's a real test of the security guard, because every time I go, there is so much metal in my body. I will travel in a sleeveless shirt so they can literally see the giant scar and my arm. And then what happens is it sets off the machine, and then we get to play a game of, are you okay with being wrong, or are you going to be a real dick about this? And every time it's just a dude, he pats me down. Literally, I've had them touching my shoulder, being like, they say there's metal in here, but there's no metal because I could just see your skin. And I was like, hey, remember not even 1 minute ago, I told you the situation. This confirms the situation. What are we going to do here? Every time it's a dude, if it's a lady, they literally just look at the screen and be like, oh yeah, you said you had metal in your arm. Yep. Oh, I can see that your arm's right there. Go ahead. Right there. You see it's the difference between those two genders at that job. All of the women, they just want a nice union paycheck. All the men, they wanted to be captain of the football team, but they broke that fucking femur, and now they're fucking part of Homeland Security, touching my shoulder. Touch my shoulder, Drake, you fuck.
I mean, I've never run into the keener. I will say that something I would go to jail with if I wasn't exactly my skin tone and look is every time they pat me down and they have to do the thing over the pants or the crotch, I just act very excited.
Yeah, of course.
They're like, is this okay? I'm like, oh, yes. It's so fun to be like, fucking right, it's okay. I think
I once had them do that.
There's something in there. Why don't you check with your butthole?
I also forget that I'm just at a place where there's consequences. So I have one time in Heathrow, and they were doing that. They got to that part, and I went, oh, fantastic. And let me tell you, they were not up for humor. That was a real. No. You can save your jokes, fucko. Here's the difference, though: is America v. Canada. That's why there's no keeners in any of those jobs in Canada, because all those people in America, some of those people are like, my dream is to be Homeland Security. Osama bin Laden ain't getting on another fucking airplane now that I'm here. And you're like, well, that's not really the details of that story, but that's okay. The thing with America, Dylan, you forget is, they are Americans. They believe all that shit. They will be like Second Amendment, hoorah. Like they don't remember it, but they have a notion of what they believe in. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about someone that like chose that job versus I've never gotten in Canada, I've never gotten a vibe off of anything but like an I guess for the reason why you're at airport security. Where it's like, yeah, I guess, sure. Yeah,
So
I guess I'll take this job, whatever.
as one of the biggest drug dealers at my high school, who is still a security guard at the Ottawa International Airport, said to me once while we were chatting and I was getting my stuff at my hometown airport, union gig, not really going to be able to be fired. 25 years, I'll have a pension. It is so crazy that a man who sold a truly illegal amount of, like an amount of weed that even though weed is legal in Canada should still be illegal, that he had that much forethought to be like, I remember he invested a bunch of his weed money.
Sell it there. Now you just have a new client base because
I gotta tell you, it was only right as I was saying that, being like, "Oh, he's selling weed at the airport. He guarantees he's been selling weed at the airport this whole time." Yeah, of course. Oh, I'm a fool.
Hey, John, why would you get a job if you were an accountant already? Why would you get in a job as an accountant in a comedy club so you could do both those jobs?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, what am I talking about? Like, it's like, why would you? Yeah, why would you? Oh, yeah, he's a guy who loves selling weed and is very good at it, and now he's working at the place where he's in charge of making sure weed gets in and out. Wow, hey, I gotta tell you,
this weed is mine now.
Yeah,
do you want more weed? Because like there's so many people who are like, yeah, I guess, and think about this. If you after high school just were like, I'm going to be a janitor now, and you would be able to retire in 4 years, like fully retire, like, all right, I'm done. But then obviously we wouldn't have slept underneath mattresses somehow. So where's your blankets? The mattress is the blanket.
Yeah. Hey, you told me this hotel had a bed? Oh, no. We said you got a room. We didn't say you got a bed.
But I remember staying in a hotel where I asked if they had a phone and they laughed in my face.
Yeah, I've stayed at a travel lodge in the UK before. Bear in mind,
this was in Niagara Falls. I forget what it was called. It was called like Pipey Pete's or something. It was the name of a pub. It just wasn't a pub.
Oh my God!
Firkin and back scratch. What's that? The scratching is because of the bugs.
I was talking to someone about like, could you go back to being poor? What's scarier, going back to being poor if you've never been poor, becoming poor the first time? Like, if you've never been poor, going back, because once you've been poor, you're just like, oh, I know how to do this. Just first of all, say goodbye to any sort of name brand hotel, and say hello to a place that has an advisory on TripAdvisor.
I mean, it would be nice to feel like done. You know what I mean? Like he'd just be like, yeah, we can't have that. I'd be pumped. Yeah. I don't know. It'd be like a game. It'd be like a little game, but then you obviously because we're never poor. We're broke. Because there's a difference. Like if you were like, all right, I'm fucking done with stand-up comedy, 2 phone calls, and you're like got some office job that you don't really need to do.
Weirdly,
you know
it would be harder
like,
for me than you to get an office job because my resume is insane. Like at this point, it literally is.
Well, I worked. Lie. Why wouldn't you lie? I lied.
I wouldn't. I never think to lie in those situations. I forget every time. Every time people are like, "Well, you lie
my
about
resume is a lie burger with lie fries and a lie shake.
Have you put me down as a reference on your resume? Because I got news for you.
No,
you've definitely been.
You would answer the phone like, "Oh, I've got something else going on," and you'd hang up on them.
No, I'd be like, "Hello, this is Dylan's mummy."
No, you put. Well, you can do this very easily. You say your name is John Hastings. You put your mom as because your mom's maiden name is McNeish.
That's right.
No, it isn't. You put your mom under her maiden name, and then your mom is one of your references.
Whoa.
Then you make a website up.
Already, already, I don't think you need to do this. Already, you do not need to make a website up. Do you have to make the website, or do you have to make up the website?
Well, this is more for fun, as I made up a website called Express Lane Dynamics. We deal in dynamics, and then when we were looking for a job, one of my friends would be like, Dylan Gott, Regional Manager, Express Lane Dynamics, and you just answer the phone like that for a week because no one ever calls anyone unless it's for a reference, and then you pick up the phone, and you say, like, scale of 1 to 10, honestly, break the scale. 11. It's the most punctual, best employee I've ever had. He did more than was asked for him. You da-da-da-da. And then on the third day, when for your training shift, you show up late, that's when they realize maybe they were lying to me.
Oh, they were definitely lying to you. Did you do this when you got the janitorial job? Did you get Express Line Dynamics out of the mothballs and back online?
No, the janitorial job was great because it was like, they're like, come in for a meeting. And then I did. And they basically were like, can you walk? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, you got that custodian glodia, baby. And they put me on the streets. And then I bullied some kid I called the Young Republican. And then the other kids started bullying him. And then they were like, I think everyone in training was like either old or young. I was the only person who was like in their 30s. So then there was a moment in training where I was like, I shouldn't be calling this kid the Young Republican.
Why?
Like, I shouldn't be bullying a 20-year-old and then other 20-year-olds using my bullying. And I was like, man, this is bad. I shouldn't be doing this.
I disagree entirely. It's very funny when you realize you're like, oh, we're no longer in our 20s anymore.
Yeah.
I remember this at a comedians meeting for something in England, and you could tell like, oh, the older comedians came in and settled down. And then one guy who was not me, but I had a similar idea, he entered the meeting by leaping through the doorframe and farting real loud, then looking at everyone was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if we're just back in the workforce, you just have to do like manual labor and you'd have to get drunk.
No, listen, I'd say this is my move. My move in 10 minutes would be I would go into copywriting, and good Lord, would I rule that. No, we're not doing that. Actually, we need to make it shorter. Oh, Dylan needs to give a reference to someone. Dylan is getting a call. I'm actually applying for a new job. I'm looking to be a meat packer. Not that kind. And Dylan is now giving a reference at the meat packing plant I want to work at called Big Sausage Meats. But meats is weirdly spelled Meets. So for a long time, I thought it was just a place where you could hang out with a big sausage. Now, I don't know if that actually is a business, but my God, do I want to start it. What do we do here? Well, you can hang out with a sausage. Can I meet the sausage? Oh, you certainly can. Can I eat the sausage? If you do that, you're fucking fired. Wait, I work for you? Yeah, this is a weird company. In some ways, we're trying to get people to hang out with sausages, and in other ways, we're committing benefits fraud. Welcome back to the program, Dylan Gott. It was our first call. Who is that call for, baby?
That was a savings plan for my youngest son.
That was a what? That was a what? What?
Savings plan. To start a savings plan.
That's right. Oh, do you have bank account? Do you have a bank accounts for your wee babies? I have my first bank account from Bank of Montreal. Still?
All right, John, what else is going on in your world other than chocolate rain? Which I still don't know anything about chocolate rain.
Let me explain to you what chocolate. So a man named Tayshawn is from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he is. Do you know what he is, Dylan? He's a songwriter.
Okay.
And he wants it's 2008. He wants to get his songs out there. He wants people to hear them. And so he decides.
Like what in the butt?
It is like Chocolate Rain is basically the first big like earworm song that went viral. It's just him in like a weird sepia toned recording studio, off kilter from the microphone, singing this song in this deep ass weird nerdy baritone with the most catchy, weird little beat underneath. And the thing that is true about it is he thinks he's singing about race relations, and it sounds like he's singing about shitting his pants. That's the key to this song's popularity.
It's 139 million hits.
I want you to know that that's actually got 2 more million hits than the... Oh, no, it's been updated. I read like a couple of days, 137, 136. Like, it is still getting substantial amount of views. He is still basically just living off of this fucking this song. It was one of the first initial huge successes of 4chan that basically 4chan got a hold of it and spread it fucking everywhere. God, 4chan, like everything, started real fun. Hey guys, we're just an anonymous message board spreading a song that we think is about shitting our pants. What's next? Let's be bad guys. It is wild. And here's the thing: is he just had. I was waiting for the moment where the story of Tayshawn Day and Chocolate Rain took a horrific turn. I was like, where's it going to happen? Here's the horrific turn. He just thinks he's going to have another hit. And he lives in that world, and he is still releasing songs, baby. Like, his YouTube is active. He's given interviews, and there is no humor to this man. This man is a serious song. Like, Elton John is more, like, whimsical about his art than Tayshawn Day.
I mean, I'm looking at his YouTube account, and he doesn't release videos at all, ever. And his last video was a year ago, and it was 286K. So that's not bad. Especially when it's 1.1 million, like that's a lot of people watching it.
It's also like he constantly gets hits as he's like sort of the best version of he's the best version of like an early stage YouTube celebrity, in that you can really tell YouTube is like, well, this guy is normal enough. He's not a guy that ate shoes and then died. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's like everyone else of that early stage of YouTube is like, well, there's the Malahi guy, and he turned out to be a weapons manufacturer, and there's
they also get bullied into dirt.
Pardon me? Say that again?
They get bullied into dirt.
Yeah, this guy has, like, if Tayshawn Day had come out now, at this point he would have had a porn star girlfriend, and suddenly it's revealed that she's doing a Lena the Pugs Jason Love style video, and you can send him money on GoFundMe to get access to the link. But he's a 2007 YouTube star, so he's just giving very awkward interviews, harkening back to the glory days when he got to be on Opie and Anthony because of this song. Well,
all right. Here's what I honestly think, and you can fucking try and come at me, but it's worthless, is there's two types of people that go viral. There's people who are like, oh, I went viral, cool, and then they make the money, and then they just kind of fade out. And then there's people who desperately try and cling on, and both of them get the fucking weird YouTuber documentary where it's like, what happened to this person? They totally fell off. And it's like, no, they had hopefully they had a job. They went viral. They did not quit the job. And they went back. Because it's like, oddly, it's easier to make money off of, like, because there's all those stories about the recording industry in the 90s where you'd have a big one hit, but you signed your deal for 8 cents. So now not only do you have to have that first hit, your second album has to be like bigger than your first album, which is super hard to do for you to have any relevancy. You know? Yeah. And now it's easier to get that initial money, but then you just like have to pull an Island Boys and do full pornography with your siblings.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the only person who seems to have successfully pivoted away from being a viral sensation to something that's a bit more sustainable is the Hawk Tua girl. And I don't know how much longer Talk Tua is going to be at the top of the podcast charts.
I need Talk Tua to start getting into politics. That's their only option.
I think what
next up on Talk to Kamala Harris unpacking what she thinks she did wrong in her presidential. Next up on Talk to Jill Biden talking about how she feels betrayed by the Democratic Party.
Give me that show. Have you watched any clips of Talk to It is
oddly, I've watched the podcast that's just these guys talking about Talk to It's a reaction to Talk to podcast, and their thing is that they're just really big fans and they only have production notes.
That's so fucking funny.
They're just the lighting is much better in this one.
I really like that. I mean, I just have to say this, that the thing with the Hawk Tua girl is she has really made it seem how unlikable a lot of podcasters are. Like, you watch it and you're like, she's not the best interviewer, but at least it's fun to watch. And then you're like, this isn't a sensation I get with a lot of other podcasts. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, that's my main takeaway is like, well, yeah, let me tell you this. It was the similar thing. If you realize why Oprah was successful, was like, Oprah at 4:00, you could just watch a nice person ask very simple questions to a horrific criminal. And Haley, the Hawk Tua girl, is a similar thing of like, hey, a charming 19-year-old who's the checkout lady at a grocery store you like talking to for 3 minutes once a week. She's got a podcast, and she's doing it with Whitney Cummings, and Whitney Cummings is not likable in this episode. She seems very forced, like she wants to steal the life energy of this younger person.
Yeah, well, I mean, then you get the whole thing where it's like, hey, I'm trying to attach myself to this younger person, and you can see the life that's in her eyes, and then just like Whitney Cummings' whole, like, I've been in Hollywood for too long. When you're next to people who are in Hollywood for a long time, you look normal. But then as soon as you're just next to a normal person, they're like, something has happened to her skin that it looks young, but also like old at the same time.
You've literally nailed the experience of living in LA. I was recently at a show and someone came out that like I tour Europe, and the person was like, "Why do you do that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's fun, you know, and you know, you need money." He's like, "But why would you do that? Like, is that helping you in the business here?" And I'm like, "I think so. I don't know, like, you know, you're continually working on your craft." He's like, "But is it helping?" And I was like, "Oh, you've been in LA too long. Like, you are literally, you have a spreadsheet of all of the agents' assistants, and you make sure to like run into them at the shows that they're ordered to go to, even though that's a 2019 way of approaching it, and they don't do that anymore." Like, you know, one of those guys.
One second, like, my youngest son is, from my angle, actively trying to commit suicide with a pillow.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that period of time in the show where Dylan's son is going to be joining us. Now, a little bit of a content warning. He's pretty right-wing. Like, it's a bit of a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, he refers to January 6th as that fun day everyone went on a little tour of the Capitol. You know what I mean? He refers to the trucker protest as that time all those people did the thing I like. Oh, yeah, let's get right-wing, baby.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. That's what I like to see. Just like his father, covered in his own muck. For those of you who can't see, Dylan's son is
Sorry,
currently...
you heard me say Kamala, and then he barfed.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the problem is Dylan's son was concerned we were about to mention Bernie Sanders, and he made sure to throw up and shit himself. You do not mention that man's name around me,
Yeah.
he said.
Why don't you go fuck yourself?
Yeah, well, you...
Spermy handers.
Yeah. New favorite thing I overheard walking through the streets of LA, Bernie Sanders, more like suck my dick.
I'll tell you one funny thing. I retold a story about a prank someone pulled on my wife and I.
Go ahead.
I was holding Ozzy because obviously, like, you know, you can't not have the baby in you if he starts crying. And 3 people on TikTok are convinced he's a fake. It was a fake baby, that I was just holding a rubber baby.
I love that so much. I love,
and I was like, this is how QAnon got started.
I mean, that's not how QAnon got started. It's like what it proves is I guarantee there's a bunch of online personalities that have fake rubber babies. Like, here's something that dawned on me. None of those Karen videos are real. That again, usually I should be
that one. The birding one is real, right?
No.
The original one where she called the cops on that black dude.
Oh, that one's real.
Birding.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the one that I made, where I'm pretending to be a woman and I keep asking people if they're a bird.
Yeah.
Whoa. Are you staring me down, bro? Do not stare me down. I will come there. I will get fucked up by you because you're much younger and stronger. Whoa.
Yeah. You go suck the old fist suck.
I like how intimidating. That's very intimidating. He's letting me know that this fist is going to be wet when it gets buried in your fucking face.
No, but yeah, by the time he's old, hopefully Trump will be in his third. It'll just be what do you call it?
He'll be inconsolable if Trump does not get a third term. I can already tell.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll be toilet trained by that time, and I guarantee if he does not win a third term, he's shitting his pants. Clean me up, daddy, he'll say.
He's going to reverse the toilet training.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to, and not just him, both of your kids are going to reverse. We've reverse toilet trained. We don't even know how to use diapers.
We've untoilet trained. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing about going viral, is just like, you go viral and then you desperately try and make money. If you're a lady, this is my favorite thing about if a lady goes viral, it's like they either have an OnlyFans or don't, and everyone's just as mad with either decision they make.
Oh, my new favorite also thing is, has OnlyFans not naked? Oh my God, do people get fucking angry about that?
I love that.
You can really see who it is because they'll go to other other social media platforms and be like, excuse me, where are your hoo-has? I'm trying to find, there is a British guy who went viral for eating.
Push the mic down and be like, stop talking about OnlyFans, you old pervs.
Yeah, of course, he's like, stop talking, Dad. There's a British guy who got famous for eating a potato whole, like a roast potato whole. And
I mean, famous is crazy. Yeah.
get ready for this. Like literally like 3 million views on 3 million followers on TikTok, immediately segues into having a stripper girlfriend who is into being fucked by other guys, and he just goes on podcasts to justify it. It is the most insane arc ever, where it's like, this guy has gotten famous, he wants to hold on to that fame as fast as possible. Only one way to do that, time to be taken advantage of by sociopaths. Like,
Well, certain podcasts they pay to be on, right? Like people can pay to be on, or they pay you to be on.
both. There's both examples of. Also, like, there's a whole bunch of like it's all like favor trading now. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, well, how many views does your podcast have? Because my podcast has this amount of views. So if I go on your podcast, I need to be able to get this many new views out of going on a different podcast. And you're like, I remember when this was all fun. Do you remember when this was all fun and not just like
it was never fun?
It was funner than it is now. Podcasts were funner than they are now. Going over to Dave Atkinson's house in Ottawa and just swearing into a microphone. What a wonderful time.
Yeah, but first of all, I feel like for us that was age related. But I will say this: in the early 2000s, in the early 2010s, I feel like the revelation that a podcaster was a bit of a nonce or whatever was bad, and then they would then have to explain that on their podcast, versus now it's just understood that they are, and their whole podcast is based around them refuting those claims because comments are good on your videos.
I mean, that is the thing that, like, I put it every time someone puts a negative comment on all of my stand-up clips, which is quite often, to always be like, thank you for the engagement. You know, this helps me, because it's just like, this is the society we're in. It's like, I'm going to go tell that guy to fuck off. It's fueling him, actually. That is literally feeding him.
But it is like, if you have a ton of negative comments, it's like, then you get the engagement, and then people find out your address, and then people find and burn down your mom's house, which is the end game we all want.
I mean, I would love if someone tried to burn my mom's house down. Do you know how, like, aware she is of that building and all of its someone stepping on the grass? We're miles away from your house. We have to go back now. Like, it's crazy. Well,
just the level of access is nuts. I forget which story this is, but like some guy's big break in Hollywood. Maybe it was like Carl Reiner's big break was he left his house and then someone called for the writing job. So his wife got in their second car and chased him down and was like, get on the phone, go call him back. Versus now it's like,
there were Yuck headliner stories that I now realize are definitely embellished, of like,
they're all
I did just for laughs. I wasn't in my hotel room when they called. I didn't get the Tonight Show. And it's like, I don't think that's how that went. I think it's no one called and you just made that up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stories like that. You want to do the Tonight Show? No, I'm good. But it's also like the short-sighted thing. One I heard was, do you want to do the Tonight Show? No, I'm good, because at that point he's making like 6 figures in the 80s doing every gig in Canada, and then that stopped because, of course, it stopped.
Oh, yeah. It's very funny. Again, it was one of those things where I do love when people are like, it's fucking bullshit. This isn't continuing forever. And it's like, when ever in the history of anything to do with humanity has anything in show business lasted more than 7 to 10 years? Like, oh my God.
What's the next thing? I can't wait for, I said this before, I can't wait for smell social media.
Oh yeah. I mean, what we're going to cycle to is no social media, but a version of social media that still is social media. I'm not on that, I'm on this, is what it's going to be.
No, it's going to be people ripping ass. And this guy's farts used to smell bad, but now he's on a diet because he was going to die. So,
oh my God. Smell too?
So now his farts are. But his first farts were pretty good, but now it's kind of the same farts.
Yo, she was the first person to queef on Smell Tube, and now 4 other people are queefing, and her queefs aren't nearly as impressive as the first queef.
I never even thought about the fact that Smell Tube would have like a lady who queefed.
Oh my God. Almost immediately would there be the queefer, there'd be the burper, bad breath guy.
Bad breath guy.
Weird smell. I really respect I like how you said bad breath and your son just tried to do a suicide flip away from you.
He tried to do the coffin drop.
Yeah, he just tried to. What I like about What I like about this baby is every once in a while he just gives a weird smile at you, like, check this out, Dad. And I just feel he's then going to full drop kick you or something like that.
Yeah, he'll full drop kick me. I mean, yeah. The only thing, I don't know what's next, but I do know that wrestling will be all over it.
Oh, you here's the thing. It's much like if you want to know which neighborhood to move to, just figure out where older gay men and Jewish people are moving to. That neighborhood is gentrifying. I got news for you. Those are the two horsemen of gentrification right there. They start moving in. Bet the farm, baby. And it's the same thing with wrestling. If wrestling and porn adopt to something, get fucking into it.
I started because I had a bunch of bad gigs last week. I listened to most of the Vince McMahon audiobook.
How was that?
It's pretty good because it's just about Vince McMahon. Like, it's just like the stories we all know. The Snuka one's good. The briefcase thing that has never been proven. The Reader Chatterton thing. I forgot about the fact that he walked up to Reader Chatterton at Andre the Giant's funeral and introduced himself.
Oh my God.
And was like, oh, sorry, I haven't met you before, which was good. More about the Ring Boy scandal, which was all good.
I mean, is a part of you...
Yeah.
When you listen to anything about Vince McMahon, it's just the amount of detail that now lives in my head about certain things where I'm like, you didn't go far enough. We went far enough. And we were both depressed men in the middle of a fucking pandemic.
Yeah, we really ruined that thing. But I mean, the one thing we didn't do enough was the actual like stuff people would have cared about, which was the crime stuff. And we were just like, why did he book MVP like that? Which is something.
First of all, we covered both things equally in my mind, which is both were crimes. First of all, MVP could have done a lot better. See, even Ozzy agrees with me. Yeah, he was booked terribly in the 2000s. You get it. He could have been up there with Edge in terms of opponent for Super Cena, but instead we were fucked.
Yeah, I mean, that also was like the best time for wrestling where they had, I forget how many there are, but there's like 4 black characters they can do. And they had MVP and Shelton Benjamin playing the same one on the same show for a period of time. Of like, these guys are athletes and they're rude.
Yeah.
And it was like, what do you want Shelton Benjamin's character to be? Rude athlete? Isn't MVP doing that? Yeah, but Shelton Benjamin will have blonde hair like current musician Cisco.
I mean, here's what I'm going to say about, first of all, get that tone off your voice when you're talking about Cisco. Second of all, what is amazing about Shelton Benjamin even now, and it just shows how weird AEW is that basically here's how people ingest AEW. Oh, is this WWE wrestler going somewhere to do a bunch of good wrestling? All right, well, I'm going to turn it on, watch his debut. Yep, don't care. Like, that's the thing that AEW has literally become like, oh, it's nice that these guys are getting paid. I'm not watching this. I'm not fucking watching this. I'll tell you that much for free. Not watching it.
AEW is like, I feel like, I don't know what TikTok algorithm I'm in, but it's just like, I think it's because I listen to Jim Cornette, but it's just people typing, this is ruining the business. And it's just an AEW like triple pile driver onto a nail and the guy no sells it. No selling is ruining the business. Like,
I have to tell you, I'm really on board with your new, if you remember your pet peeve of many a year ago of people referring to wrestling as the business, where you just went, you're not in wrestling.
The business.
You have partially shaved back hair. You are not in wrestling. This is bullshit. It's so true. Like, I also have to say, I find the Jim Cornette podcast, which was always a guilty pleasure, much like the Joe Rogan podcast, both on the fucking streets. Get the fuck out of here. Jim Cornette's podcast, 2 hours discussing which slice of pizza they like, and then only 4 minutes of calling Kenny Omega Kenny Olivier. Get the fuck out. Let's go. Let's get to the fucking meat. You know what I mean?
I do like that Jim Cornette does as long a shows as Joe Rogan, but without any guest. It's just him being angry at dirt, ants, anything.
What's so funny is because I started listening to that show in the beginning, like when I listened to when it had that weird female co-host and he wouldn't even cover wrestling, which was the most insane decision of early wrestling podcasts ever. No, I'm gonna go into the topical stuff. I'm gonna talk a lot about Muslim people. I mean, I wouldn't do that, Jim.
I like that. I mean, I like that Chris Jericho's like, hey, I'm just trying to hear both sides. Eric Trump and Eric Trump.
I mean, Chris Jericho, what a difference 4 years make. Like Chris Jericho in 2020, people were like, this man is the John the Baptist of AEW.
Yeah, if he would have just come in, you know what? If Chris Jericho would have come in, done some stuff and then just like jobbed to someone and left, or probably the better one would be just like do a
He's upset we're talking about his favorite wrestler, Chris Jericho.
Yeah, well, he's yawning.
Yeah. I can't hear this because you're not talking about someone who doesn't wear a fedora. You're talking about someone who does, which is good.
But I mean, if he would have just done like a couple jobs and then just like become a commentator or the commissioner who wrestles sometimes, that'd be great. But instead he was like, nope, I'm a Ring of Honor champion. It's crazy, man.
It's also it's one of those things where what it is you can see that it's like, oh, he's the guy that's convinced the guy in charge that he's really, really smart. And so the guy who's in charge is not smart enough to be like, all right, let's we'll move this along. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's that classic thing of clearly he's being paid more than anyone else in the company. So Tony Khan's dad is like, this guy has to be on TV a lot to make sure that our investment stays strong.
Well, it might be this. It might be the fact that they know the average viewer age of AEW or TV as a whole, and then they're like, all right, so what guy means something to that age range? And it's Chris Jericho.
But does he mean, like, this is one of the misconceptions when it comes to a lot of things where it's like, man, we need to really reference 90s music. Let me tell you who represents nothing more than the 90s. That's right, the Vines. And you're like, yeah, this was definitely part of it, but like this was not
Vines.
like this wasn't like the highlight. This was a band from the 90s, but not everyone was like, fuck yeah, the Vines. They're like, yeah, that song's all right. That's what Chris Jericho is. Like, that's the thing with so many things now that are being used to be like, remember how much you liked this? And it's like, that was like the least fun part of that period of time. It would be like, let's remember the 2000s, 9/11. Remember that? Like, you know,
our champion,
there were other things.
Bradshaw, yeah. Well, I mean, Bradshaw's in TNA now. Cool.
First of all, we don't know if Bradshaw's in TNA. He's just Nick Namath's like ally. I don't know what's happening in I gotta tell you, what is crazy is I think we're gonna live in a world where TNA is gonna eclipse AEW in terms of being the number 2 promotion, and that's just really good. How did you get beat? We got beat by a weird Canadian shell company that employs ex-CFL people, and we got beat mostly because turns out just being a super rich kid and snorting coke with a guy named MJF does not lead to creative and in-depth storylines.
Well, you heard about the funny thing where that weekend with Effie, Game Changer Wrestling podcast they had on, and then Effie made fun of AEW, so they pulled Ricky Starks from all their shows. The AEW was like, oh yeah, you calling me a fucking rich kid? Suck my dick.
It is pretty amazing that Game Changer Wrestling basically is the only company that figured out, hey, Dark Side of the Ring is watched exclusively by wrestling fans. So even if they mention you as the like, yeah, this guy robbed a bunch of banks and smoked meth, he can only wrestle for this one company, and they're like, hey, we're that one company, let's go for it. Like, it is Game Changer Wrestling in terms of product awareness has a better rep online than stupid AEW at this point. And Game Changer Wrestling,
but they don't have to do any storylines, right? Like, there's no like everyone's like it reminds me kind of ECW, but it's I guess it speaks to how desensitized everyone is. That Game Changer Wrestling is like, ECW would be like, look, we're doing a barbed wire match. Blah. And then, Game Changer Wrestling is like, each of these guys has a gun, and they're going to take turns shooting each other in the leg. Ooh, who are the characters? The tough guys? No, one guy's a ballerina, and the other guy's character is that he is a Charizard. You know what I mean? It's just like irony mixed with like horrible violence. Like,
you're almost correct, except for Matt Cardona is in Game Changer Wrestling, and that guy is quietly the best. When the Ricky Starks thing happened, he just started tweeting, I made this happen. I did this. I did this. I did this. This is like, it's just like, you're like, yeah, man, you get it.
And he'll probably come back to WWE with some heat behind him.
I think he absolutely will come back because he did the smartest thing, which is he's like, I'm going to be the sports entertainer in indie wrestling. And also because he fucked up his introduction to Tony Khan, he very cleverly didn't get put into AEW when all those other WWE wrestlers were. And so he looks like way different, way more protected now. Oh my God, he's coming after your face. Oh, hello, buddy. He looks way more protected than any other AEW wrestler. Like Malachi Black now sucks my butt. Or Aleister Black, whatever the fuck his name is.
The fact that they put Malachi Black like, hey, this guy's a really like unique whatever. First thing he does, that dude, the intro of him where everyone was pumped. He faces Cody Rhodes, then he loses Cody Rhodes, whatever. But then it's like, you're in a stable now. You know how you're like a cool character who's a loner? Not anymore. You have a bunch of guys who look like they're into polyamory.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that seem like they are not invited to this wedding, but they are stood by the barbecue at the wedding.
No, they're just like, yeah, they're guys in their 40s who are talking about like, yeah, I think my hardcore band's really going to make it.
Oh my God. I'm in a bunch of different WhatsApp style groups with various people. One guy, it's come to reveal he has been quietly hoarding musical equipment because he wants to get the band back together.
That's pretty good. I mean, yeah, this is the 30s were fun because like the 30s are people kind of realizing their dreams aren't going to work out. But once it's solidly like, oh, our dreams are not going to happen, it'll be fun to see what people do in their 40s.
It's really fun to see where Dylan's head's at because Dylan likes to prescribe what's going on with him to the entire world. I remember one time Dylan had indigestion. He's like, isn't it crazy that all of society has diarrhea right now?
No, I'm speaking specifically about my male Canadian stand-up friends, where it's like they're just kind of. No, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe people. Maybe the mutual friends we have that after Trump got in said, "I know this is a hard time for everybody, but I should be headlining more comedy clubs." Maybe they will realize
Nothing beats the ego of stand-up comedians. Nothing beats the selfishness and the self-absorbed nature of it.
You know this, right? The day I was releasing my latest stand-up album, the George Floyd thing happened. I didn't go online and be like, listen, things are rough out there, guys. Black Square and all that, but Dr. Plops is out right now.
I mean, I of course remember when
George
Dr.
Floyd's
Plops
coming back and he wants a laugh.
I totally forgot that Dr. Plops came out the same time as George Floyd. I just want to point out, you said the name George Floyd and your son started crying. I'm not saying that that's connected, but I'm just saying that...
Women have the right to what I decide. Women have the right to what I decide. There you go. No, he's calming down now. He's smiling. You can't see it, but he's smiling.
Just say Nick Fuentes to him. Just say Nick Fuentes. Like. He'll calm right down.
Oh,
Nick.
Yeah. Ozzy Fuentes. Ozzy Fuentes. Ozzy Fuentes.
I can't wait for the day your wife sees these episodes where we're doing this with your child, and I just assume a fist will come flying through the air towards your face. Dylan, not again.
If you out there like watching people kind of melt down and you don't really have access to any of those fun people in your life, like maybe you should up your Facebook community group intake or whatever. Mm-hmm. You should just add some stand-up comedians that are pretty much at me and John's level. Honestly, I think John's level is better because John, and I'm just saying follower count. Like, listen, I got like 5,500 on Instagram. I can't even lie to myself. But people at John's level, you got like what, 30,000 people?
Around there, yeah, 26 and change, 28
That's
and change.
Great. See, that's enough that you can just really dig in and be like, my break's around the corner. So then you watch those people and you watch them just kind of realize what's going on. You know what I mean? John doesn't really post things that aren't just his stand-up clips, to his credit. But the people that get personal...
my personal favorite was a guy who lives in Houston or Dallas. I can't remember. So many posts about Bill Burr's SNL monocle. This is what... You give him a chance? You're not giving me a chance? That was one of the tweets, and I was like, they're not giving him a chance. He's Bill Burr, you motherfucker. Like, it's just...
I like tweeting. Tweeting now is nuts. That's unhinged. You're tweeting.
Oh, buddy.
Like if you're tweeting and you're not like, Zuckerberg, I'm on this because Zuckerberg's a fucking baby skull drinking loser. Let's like, unless you're trying to curry Elon Musk's favor directly, why are you tweeting?
No, here's the thing you have to remember is there's a shitload of American comedians that have a really good follower count on that fucking platform, and they are not giving it up.
Yeah,
they don't like.
They won't do it. They never could do the other thing. I've seen some of them try on the other stuff, and it is working out for them, to their credit. But yeah, I mean, yeah. And it's not like Mark Zuckerberg's a better person than Elon Musk. He's just a less openly political one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he's just not reached that phase yet, which is Elon Musk fired whatever the publicist was keeping his personality at bay, and Mark Zuckerberg's been smart enough to keep that person on staff. That's the only difference.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg's still in jujitsu phase, and the other key thing to Mark Zuckerberg is he has been married to the same person for a long time, so there is that.
I was going to bring this up, which people like. It's sort of hack, but it's like, well, people are like, oh, is he like he's doing this because he went through a divorce? I, as a man who went through a divorce, your brain, because there's this weird thing of like, this was going to work out. This was all planned. How the fuck did this not work out? And you can see in your brain like how people get to those pathways of like, fuck her. Like you're just like, no, you have to like take a minute. You maybe want to talk to a therapist. What you don't want to do is be like, there's only one thing to do. Win this. And like then you're just like, you're fucked.
Well, it would make sense. I mean, like, yeah, he divorced Grimes, so now he's super right wing. Who's left wing? Canadians as a whole. Maybe it was that. Maybe it's like Grimes just saying all this lefty stuff. I mean, and then he went back at her.
Here's the thing with Canadian left wing. Canadian left wing is my favorite left wing because there's always some parts that are. There's always one thing where you're like, whoa. Like there's always like, yeah, man, everyone should be equal. It's all about understanding and compassion, unless of course you're a native person, and then fuck you, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, we do an acknowledgement that we took your land and we're not giving it back.
I mean.
What I do is at the start of the shows, I list off reasons of things we did with the land that's better than what they would have done. That's
I've seen you do that. And what is weird is it's not that people like are like, well, this is weird that's happening. What is weird is you declare at the beginning of the show, I'm going to be doing this at some point during the show, but I'm not telling you when. And then when another comedian's on stage, that's when you storm the stage after you make them play Tatanka's theme music, and then you do it, which is
yeah. I also parrot a bunch of Tatanka's ideas, which no one likes.
Oh yeah, no. Also, you have seen the internet trend of they want to bring Tatanka back for another run. The internet wants him back one more run because it was discovered. It was discovered somehow that he's appeared in the WWE like in like so many different decades, and they're like, let's do it one more time. And I'm like, listen, if Vince McMahon was in control, I think he would have done it because he probably still thinks he's like, if I do that, then I get to control all of Oklahoma.
I think we should do another Marty Jannetty run. And I think his run should just be that Liv Morgan is his stepdaughter, and then that's the storyline.
I mean, if Game Changer Wrestling actually had some fucking balls, you'd bring Marty Jannetty in as the commissioner. Like, enough with
Marty
the bank
Jannetty
robber.
versus Buck Zumhofe.
Oh
in
my
a cage
God.
match. The cage is actually locked, and we don't feed them.
I believe Buck Zumhofe is dead, so it's just Marty Jannetty figuring out how to snort the ashes of Buck Zumhofe. You would make so much money off of pay-per-view. You would get close to Jake Paul, Mike Tyson numbers if you did Marty Jannetty versus the ashes of Buck Zumhofe.
That was one part in the Vince book that I really liked, was Dave Meltzer openly saying, he said, like, it's difficult to find a wrestler with a clean slate, essentially. Basically, he was like, yeah, everybody's molested people anyway.
What? Not Stone Cold. Not Stone Cold.
What?
Not Stone Cold. I don't think Stone Cold.
He hasn't beaten every single woman he's with?
He definitely did that. He definitely did. I was specifically talking about the molesting. Stone Cold's not a molester. He's just... I also have to say this. What's crazy about the Stone Cold saga of the Deborah thing is it's the truest thing about human beings. You'll really look the other way if you really like someone, and all of wrestling fandom, who can be really like absolutely not goodbye, was just like, we've read those books and we've read the accounts. He has cute cats, so we're looking the other way.
I remember I got kicked out of a wrestling group because I was like, Chris Hero's fat, and then some lady said, it's glandular. I'm like, yeah, you've been putting those cupcakes in those glands.
I mean, what happened to Chris Hero? Chris Hero is one of those ones where I'm like, man, that's disappointing.
What happened to Chris Hero? He started eating cupcakes again, and he became a big fatty.
He just looks too much like Triple H, I think, is part of the problem.
Yeah, he looks like friggin' quadruple H. With
I really like this new sassy Dylan that showed up. Chocolate Rain, more like chocolate hate.
What do you call it? Chris Hero's problem was Chris Hero was good. It was just like, yeah, he looks like Triple H too much, but also they're the same level of good at wrestling. It's just Triple H looks cool and he doesn't. I don't know. Like,
so Triple H started dating the boss's daughter, and Chris Hero couldn't do that because she was already dating someone.
Also, Chris Hero just like, you know, if you have the wherewithal to not only be 6'5", 250 pounds, already on juice, looking tasty, yum, already be a great wrestler. On top of that, you are like lizard brain enough to like go into the WWF and just be like, who has the title? I'm gonna make friends with that guy, and then after that guy is like, I'm a huge pillhead. You are like, I think I'm gonna like marry the boss's daughter. Like, you're just built for success.
Yeah, you're gonna win. No matter what, you're gonna win. You're not gonna
Like,
be
from
fun,
strength
but
to
you're
strength
gonna
to
win.
strength.
Yeah,
Like, that's the thing. He was like, people don't like Triple H, obviously, but like, he is great. If he just should have not been the god of the show.
yeah, he
because
should not have
wasn't
been
the best one on the show. He was like the fourth best wrestler in the world, being treated like he was like Goldberg the Nature Boy.
Yeah, and it was also done for way too long and makes no sense. Like, it was just, there's a bunch of things that make no sense. It was just annoying and boring and weird. The one good part about the Vince McMahon documentary was Triple H kind of implying like, oh yeah, that when I fucked that girl, that dead body's that was a bit weird. And I was like, yeah, that's weird. That's your father-in-law. Imagine your father-in-law is like, you know what we're gonna do today? Me film you having sex with a dead body. Imagine that happened in the backyard of your house right now, Dylan.
Yeah. How would they clean up all the cottage cheese that would come out of me? You know what I mean?
Oh my God. That was too far. That was too far for a man holding a baby.
Nursing a baby too.
Oh my God, even worse.
What was I gonna say? No, and then Triple H wouldn't kiss me on the lips. What's that about? Comments?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what this is about. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our Chocolate Rain episode. We covered almost no information
this is not a
on
Chocolate
Tayshawn
Rain
Day.
episode. This will be a chit chat. Poo 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 poo.
No,
We'll
it's
talk
a
about
chocolate. It's the Chocolate Rain
and-
episode. You son of a
And
bitch.
we'll talk about Chocolate Rain, and I'll talk about World of Warcraft another time.
Well, Dylan has an appointment, and I have an appointment with destiny, and by that I mean the toilet.